The ice in the glass doesn't clatter, it settles with a soft, expensive hiss. It is hand carved, a perfect sphere of clear frozen water that looks like a lens at the bottom of the crystal. Outside the floor to ceiling windows of the penthouse, the city of New Haven is a collection of toy buildings and flickering orange streetlights reduced to a scale that makes it seem manageable. Inside, the air smells of cedar, old paper, and the faint ozone scent of a high end air purification system. The radiator clicks once, a rhythmic metallic snap that marks the passage of another minute past midnight. On the mahogany desk sits a leather bound ledger and a single fountain pen, its gold nib catching the light from a dim green shaded lamp. He doesn't look up when the door closes. He is leaning back in a chair that cost more than a year of my previous apartment's rent, his fingers steepled. The silence is thick, the kind of silence that has weight, pressing against the eardrums until the pulse becomes audible. The scholarship wasn't just a check, it was a liberation. It was the end of the 3 job rotation, the end of the generic brand cereal, the end of the constant humming anxiety that my brain was being wasted on logistics instead of logic. When the letter arrived from the Vance Foundation, it didn't just offer tuition, it offered mentorship and strategic alignment. It felt like being chosen. It felt like the world finally admitting that I was as bright as I knew I was. Sit down, Simone, he says. His voice is a low, sandpaper rabs that sounds like it belongs in a library. The data from the third quarter is inconsistent with the projections we discussed on Tuesday. I want to know why you're suddenly pulling your punches in the final analysis. I move to the chair opposite him. The leather is cool against the backs of my legs. I place my tablet on the desk, the screen glowing a sterile blue against the warm wood. I don't look at his face. I look at the way his cufflink, a small silver owl with emerald eyes, rests against the edge of the desk. The sample size was skewed, I say. My voice is steady, practiced. If I include the outliers, the narrative of the paper changes. It becomes about systemic failure rather than individual merit. The Foundation's mission statement focuses on merit. The Foundation's mission statement is whatever I decide it is on a given Thursday, he replies. He finally looks up. His eyes are the color of a shallow sea, pale and unreadable. I am paying for your precision, Simone, not your conscience. You are brought into this inner circle because you have a specific perspective that validates the shift we are making in the urban development sector. If you start sounding like a social worker, you become redundant. The radiator clicks again. It is the only sound in the room besides our breathing. I look at the silver owl. This started as consulting. 2 hours a week to discuss my dissertation progress and how it might apply to his private investments. Then it became dinners. Then it became late-night strategy sessions where the focus shifted from my research to my presence. He likes to have me there when he speaks to other donors. He likes the way I stand in the corner of a ballroom, the way I can dismantle a policy argument with a 3-sentence rebuttal, and most of all, the way I look while doing it. I'm not a social worker, I say. I'm a researcher. The data has to be honest. Honesty is a luxury for those who don't have stakeholders, he says, leaning forward. The scent of his cologne, something heavy and floral like dying lilies, reaches me. You are a stakeholder now. Your housing, your stipend, your future chair at the Institute, those are all data points. If the paper fails to support the initiative loses funding. If the initiative loses funding, the scholarship ceases to be a viable investment for the board. He reaches out and slides a glass of water toward me. The condensation leaves a trail on the mahogany, a perfect wet line that will eventually soak into the wood if not wiped away. I don't touch it. I thought I was here to advise you, I say. You are, he smiles. It's a thin, terrifyingly white smile. You are advising me on how to present the reality we want to build. You think this is about a PhD. Simone, this is about a lineage. You're being groomed for a seat at tables you haven't even heard of yet. But those seats require a certain flexibility, a recognition that the truth is a tool, not a master. I think about the exit mirage. It appeared 3 months ago. I had received a small grant offer from a public university in the Midwest. It was enough to live on, barely. I could have packed my books, moved to a town where the air smells like corn and diesel, and finished my work in a windowless office. I could have been free of the silver owls and the cedar-scented penthouses. But I looked at my shoes. They were Italian leather, a gift from the Foundation for a gala. I looked at my hands. The calluses from my time working retail had completely faded. I realized that if I left, I would be the girl who couldn't handle the heat of the Ivy League. I would be a footnote. If I stayed, I was a protagonist. The cost of leaving was the loss of the version of myself I had finally grown to like. Is that what the dinner tomorrow night is about? I ask. Flexibility? Tomorrow night is the Founders Circle, he says, his voice softening into something almost paternal. It's a very small, very private group. They've been following your progress with great interest. They want to see the Vance protégé in action. You'll be wearing the navy silk. I've already had it sent to your apartment. The navy silk, it has a high collar and a back that is cut almost to the waist. It is a dress designed to make the wearer look like a statue, elegant, silent, and immobile. I have a seminar tomorrow night, I say, though we both know it doesn't matter. You have a future tomorrow night, he corrects. The seminar is for students. The Founders Circle is for architects. Which one are you? He stands up and walks to the window. He looks out at the city as if he owns the air between the buildings. He probably does. I stay in the chair. The anchor of normalcy is the smudge on his glasses. He has taken them off and is rubbing them with a silk handkerchief. It's such a human, mundane gesture. For a second, he looks like a tired old man who just wants to see clearly. I don't like the way they look at me, I say quietly. The others, at the galas, they don't look at me like I'm a scholar. They look at me like I'm a rare book they're thinking of buying. He turns around, his glasses back on. The smudge is gone. You are a rare book, Simone. And you're currently in a very prestigious library. Most people would kill for that kind of protection. But you're right, the look is one of appraisal, because tomorrow night you aren't just an advisor, you're the proof of concept. Proof of what? Proof that we can find the best, refine them, and make them ours, he says. He walks back to the desk and picks up the fountain pen. He holds it out to me. Sign the revised abstract, the one with the corrected data. Let's put the outliers to bed. The gold nib glimmers. This is the failure point. I know it as surely as I know the laws of thermodynamics. If I take the pen, the data becomes a lie. If the data becomes a lie, the PhD is a performance. If the PhD is a performance, I am no longer a researcher. I am an asset. But if I don't take the pen, the tuition bill arrives in 10 days. The apartment lease, which is held in the foundation's name, will be terminated. The strategic alignment will vanish and I will be back in the 3-job rotation, but this time with a reputation for being difficult to work with in a circle that controls every major academic journal in the country. My hand moves toward the pen. It's a slow, heavy movement like pushing through water. My fingers close around the cold metal. The weight of it is surprising. Good girl, he says. The phrase is a physical blow, but I don't flinch. I have learned that flinching is a sign of weakness. And in this room, weakness is the only sin. I lean over the ledger. I don't read the words. I know what they say. They say that the world is a series of transactions and that I have finally found my price. I sign my name. The ink is black and wet, soaking into the expensive paper. It looks like a permanent stain. The navy silk will be a perfect fit, he says, his voice returning to that library rasp. I had the measurements taken from your last fitting at the tailor's. You won't even need to pin it. He takes the pen back from me. Our fingers don't touch. You can go now, Simone. Get some sleep. You'll need your energy for the circle. There are people coming from London just to meet you. Don't disappoint me. I stand up. My legs feel like they belong to someone else. I walk to the door, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor with a sharp rhythmic sound that echoes in the hallway. I reach for the handle, but I stop. What happens after the PhD, I ask, not turning around. When the scholarship is over, I hear the sound of the chair creaking as he leans back. I can imagine the silver owl cufflink resting against his chin. Simone, he says, a hint of genuine amusement in his tone. It's never over. You don't understand the nature of the debt yet. We didn't just pay for your school. We bought your time, all of it. The scholarship is just the down payment on the career we've designed for you. The door opens with a soft click. The hallway is long and lined with portraits of men who look exactly like him. They all have the same pale eyes and the same thin, white smiles. I walk to the elevator. The doors are brushed gold, reflecting a distorted, shimmering version of my face. I look taller, thinner, more ethereal. I look like someone who belongs in a penthouse. I look like someone who has never worked a day in her life. As the elevator descends, the pressure in my ears changes. The city rushes up to meet me, but it doesn't feel like home anymore. It feels like a map I am no longer allowed to read. I reach my apartment. The navy silk dress is hanging on the outside of my closet, encased in a plastic shroud. It catches the light from the street lamp outside, shimmering like oil on water. It is beautiful. It is the most beautiful thing I have ever owned. I sit on the edge of my bed and look at my hands. They are steady. They are the hands of a scholar, a PhD candidate, a Vance protégé. The radiator in my bedroom clicks, a sharp metallic snap. I reach out and touch the plastic shroud of the dress. The crinkle of the film is loud in the quiet room. I think about the founder's circle. I think about the men from London. I think about the dark social debt that is currently being calculated in a penthouse 3 miles away. I don't feel scared. I don't feel angry. I feel the weight of the gold nib in my hand. I feel the cool leather of the chair. I feel the way the air in the room has become a little thinner, a little harder to breathe. I stand up and begin to unzip the plastic. The silk is cold, like the water in the glass. It feels like a second skin. It feels like a shroud. I wonder if by the time I finish the PhD, I will even remember the names of the outliers I left out of the report. I wonder if I will care. The city outside is silent. The orange streetlights look like distant fires. I put on the dress. I check the mirror. I look perfect. I look exactly like the proof they've been waiting for. I sit back down and wait for the sun to come up, watching the smudge of light on the wall grow larger and clearer until the room is filled with a bright, sterile whiteness that reveals every expensive detail and hides absolutely nothing. The secret hunger wasn't for the money. It was for the belief that I could be the one person in the room who wasn't a pawn. And as I smoothed the silk over my hips, I realized the manipulation was never about making me believe his lies. It was about making me prefer them to my own truth. The debt is called, and I am ready to pay.